Today we will review the ways you can deliver synchronous instruction in Blackboard Collaborate Ultra. The first tools I want to point out are these buttons in the bottom center of your screen. On the left, you have a My Status and Settings button. This allows for you to collect feedback from your students. It's just quick feedback. If you click on the button, you can see here, if you pose a question at the beginning of class, students can respond with whether or not they agree or disagree. They can share with you how they're feeling, or they can share with you if your pacing needs to slow down or speed up. The students can give you some quick feedback using this tool. To the right of that button is your microphone, and you can share your audio or mute your audio. If the line is through it, that means your microphone is muted. Similarly, to the right of that is your video button. Here you can click on it to share your video, or if the line is through it, that means that your video is not sharing. Finally, on the far right is the raise hand icon, and this allows students to raise their hand to participate or ask you a question. Moving over to the far lower right hand corner, you will see a purple tab. You want to click on that tab to extend it outward. After the toolbar extends, you will see a variety of options. The first is your chat feature. Here you can type messages to your class, and they can respond to you. The second feature is your attendees tab. Here you'd be able to see a list of your moderators and participants. If you have a team teacher, they would fall under the moderator category, and then your students would fall under participants. This tab with the arrow pointing to the right is the most important tab that you'll use when you prepare your lessons and interact with your students. Here you have the Share Content tab. This provides a variety of options to simulate the in-person learning experience. The first is the option to share a blank whiteboard. By clicking this, you can share a whiteboard that would work just like a dry erase board in your classroom might work. And here you can use these tools up at the very top to display different information on your whiteboard. So the first tool is the pencil. Here you might want to draw a math problem. And this is hopefully something that is a little rudimentary for your students, but just as an example. You can also add text. And students can then respond and also add their own drawings or answers on the whiteboard. The important thing to note about the whiteboard is that it is a two-way feature, meaning that students can generate content on the whiteboard the same way teachers can generate content on the whiteboard. Here you have an eraser button, so you can clear the content if you choose. And you also have the pointer feature just to highlight key information, and if you have some text included, you can select that text and you can move the text around, or by selecting the box you can also just hit backspace and it will delete. When you're finished using the whiteboard feature, You can stop sharing either by pressing on the stop button in the upper right hand corner of your session screen, or inside of the share content tab there's also a stop sharing button. Another important feature that you will probably use very frequently is the share application or screen feature. If you click on this option, you see 3 options to share your content with your class. The first is to share your entire screen. I recommend using this option if you plan to toggle between tabs or windows, if you have a variety of different resources that you plan to share with students. In order to share your entire screen, you not only need to select it up here at the top on this tab, you also need to click on the screen itself, the screen icon or image in the box, and that should highlight your share button and enable you to share your entire screen. When you share your entire screen, you will see in a few moments what the students are seeing on their end. When you share content, you can no longer see the students, but you will be able to see the content that the students can see. So you'll see the student view. Again, you can stop sharing by clicking on this button here. Going back to the share application screen, another good option is to select application window. And here, if you have multiple Chrome windows open, I might go ahead and just bring this out into a separate window for the sake of example. Let me go. I can select the specific window I want to share and then hit the share button. Alternatively, and one of my favorite sharing features is the Chrome tab. Here you see a list of every Chrome tab that I have open on my computer currently. I don't want to share every single tab. For example, in my Freshman 101 program that I'm teaching this week, I might want to share the Google Slides presentation. The nice thing about sharing a Chrome tab is that you can also move your screen, move your windows to split screen so that you have a view of both your classroom in Blackboard Collaborate Ultra as well as the slide presentation. So I particularly like this feature for that reason, because I can see on my right hand side the student view in Blackboard Collaborate Ultra, and I can also then navigate the slides as I need to. And I can present, and there you see presentation mode in slides, and I can switch from slide to slide, see what the students are seeing. I can monitor the chat at the same time as I'm presenting. I can see if students are raising their hand. It's just a very effective way of managing your classroom space in Blackboard Collaborate Ultra while also managing your presentation materials. So when I'm done sharing, I simply click stop, and now I'm back to my main page. The next feature in the Share Content tab would be that of the Share Files. This is a very important feature to use as well. If you click on Share Files, here you can upload content prior to your class beginning. So it helps to ensure that everything that you need to share with the students during your session is already preloaded. To do that, you would add on the plus sign Add Files button, and here then you can upload files from your computer. The thing to note about this feature is that you can only upload PowerPoint or PDF. You cannot upload materials from your Google Drive. So in that instance, it would be best to either convert your Google Slides to PowerPoint, or you can share the slide deck in the chat by sharing the link to your Google slide presentation during your session, or you can share it in advance in Google Classroom. But here, this is from the beginning of our distance learning journey last spring. You can see I had uploaded some intro slides and the new distance learning syllabus that I wanted to review with students at the very beginning of our distance learning journey in the spring. So it's very easy to access, and once you click on the material that you want to share, you can click share now, and that will share the material with your students. You simply click on the slide and you can move down slide by slide as you need to. So this way you can navigate your presentation while you are also monitoring what's happening in your classroom space. Okay, the next feature that is a fun way to gather quick student feedback and just make sure that your students are staying engaged and kind of gives you a temperature check on how things are going is the polling feature. This feature is pretty easy to use. If you click on polling, you have two options. You can choose to take a poll that would require a multiple choice response, or even easier, you can also select a yes, no response. So for example, this morning in my freshman course, I said, did you learn something new today? And I clicked start, and the students were able to respond to my prompt, and I got some quick feedback about whether or not the content I was providing was new and novel to them, or if I need to make some changes. I have some general data to support the fact that those changes need to be made. To stop sharing your poll, you simply end the poll. And then finally, we will talk about breakout groups. Breakout groups are a great way to put students into small group settings so that they can collaborate with each other, have small group discussions, perhaps collaborate in a small group on an assignment that you're providing. So let's talk about how to work and create breakout groups. So the first thing I want to bring your attention to is the assign groups feature up top. You'll notice that this is unavailable to me right now, and that is because there are no participants currently logged into my classroom. But if there were participants, I would be able to assign each one to the specific breakout group that I wanted them to be in. So you want to think about the custom assignment feature in breakout groups like you would in your classroom setting, as if students might be moving desks. If your classroom is set up in stations, you might number students off and decide that certain students are in group 1, 2, 3, or 4, so on and so forth. The other thing to bring your attention to is the option to allow attendees to switch groups. So just because you may have assigned students to groups does not mean that they are stuck in those groups. Maybe you want to allow them to move between groups depending on the activity that you are creating. I know some teachers are thinking about having different breakout rooms for various modes of instruction, and perhaps you want to allow attendees to switch groups so that they can choose which mode of instruction they want to receive during the synchronous session. So in that case, they would click the check box for allow attendees to switch groups. Okay, so right now the only person in the room is myself, and that's McLean High School. So normally you would see a list of all of the participants who are in your classroom in the main room to start with, and you can move them to the group that you want to by clicking on the 3 horizontal dots on the right hand side and choose which group to assign you want to assign each person to. That's one way of doing it. You can also drag and drop the participants to the respective group that you would like them to participate in. You may want more than 2 groups. It defaults to 2 groups, but if you want to have 4 or 5 groups, If you scroll down to the bottom, you can just toggle over the plus sign and you can create subsequent groups to have as many as you need. So that is essentially how you create groups and then you place students or participants within those groups. When you are ready to begin your breakout sessions, you would click the Start button. And then this would force everyone into the breakout room that you have assigned them to. And again, if you've allowed them to switch between, they have that option to toggle between groups once they start participating in their original group. Okay, so here I am in group 1. I'm going to go ahead and click Start. And now you see that McLean High School is officially in group 1, and I'm the only one here now, but in a real session there would be other participants. If I were allowed to toggle between groups, then I would be able to join groups by clicking on the green arrow pointing inside of the door, or the window, if you want to think about it that way. I would be able to join a different group. So I'm moving now to group 2. And as a moderator, you have the permissions to join groups as you need to. And so I can circulate around the room. That's kind of what moving between groups is like in terms of comparing it to a physical classroom space. And then when I'm ready to end our small group session, I can click on the Stop or End Breakout Groups button, and it is going to force everyone to return to the main room. So that in a nutshell is how you would use and navigate all of the various features under the Share Content tab. The last tab I want to show you is the My Settings cog. You'll click on that button. You will see there some opportunities to check your audio and video settings to set them up if you need to. You will want to go to your notification settings just to make sure that these are set up appropriately. So you can see here, and these are things that are going to be set up at the very beginning when you set up your classroom in the first place. The important feature here is the session settings, and the default is to disable the participant permissions so that students are not able to enter into your classroom space at any time outside of the normal classroom meeting time and talk to one another or share chats or other content without being supervised by an adult, just like we wouldn't want that to happen in the building. So when you start your session, it is a good idea to start here and under the session settings to turn on and share audio, video, the opportunity to post chat messages, and I would only enable the draw on whiteboard or files if you plan to use that feature during your session. Otherwise, I would leave it disabled because of the fact that it is a two-way platform. And once those things are set, you can return back to your main screen and you're ready to begin your class. When you have concluded your session with your students, to leave the session, you simply go up here to the 3 horizontal lines and you come down here into the last menu which says Leave Session. While we're in this drop-down menu, I want to bring to your attention a few other features. One is the Start Recording. This allows you to record all of your sessions. The other is an important backup plan feature. So if you are unable to use your audio in the session, or one of your students is unable, maybe their microphone is not working, they can use their phone to dial in and still participate in the session, even though they might not be able to use the microphone that's built into their computer. So that is it in a nutshell, and how you might be able to use the various features in Blackboard Collaborate Ultra. As always, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can always email me at aclowry@fcps.edu.